Semi-retired Bob here. Talk about the carnivore diet, all things related to the carnivore diet, and miscellaneous odds and ends. As you come in, please hit that thumbs up button and let me know that you can hear me in the comments so I know I'm not just talking to a dead mic. I see Rick has arrived already. Hello, Rick. How you doing today? I hope everybody's having a great day out there. I want to get a couple of small pieces of business out of the way early so we can spend the rest of the time just chatting amongst ourselves and having fun. There were 4 people, and now I see it's down to 2 again, so maybe you can't hear me. I don't know. Somebody that's still here, please let me know if you can hear me okay, because this would be a very bad live stream if nobody can hear me. But I'm going to assume that you can hear me, and I'm going to cover a couple of quick pieces of business just to let you know the sales are out there. Those of you that have been following my channel for a while know that a company called Fitville has sent me some shoes to try. And for the most part, they're very good. They have wide toe boxes. So people with short, fat feet like myself don't have a lot of problems. They actually originally designed them for diabetics. I'm no longer a diabetic, but you know, with gout and everything, I've always had a little bit of problem with my feet. So I really like their shoes. This weekend, because it's Memorial Day weekend, normally I have a code down in the description that you can save. I think it's 10 or 15% off their products. This weekend, if you use the code HERO25, 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 you can get 25% off of their items. And that's the main piece of business I wanted to talk to you guys about today. My mic must not be working or something because I haven't seen. I see Rick has said hello and Twin Brook Acres has said hello, but nobody has said they can hear me yet. And there's only 4 of you in the chat. So somebody please let me know if you can hear me or not, just because. Let me go ahead and switch this banner over to, here we go, hit like and subscribe. And back to the comments. Okay, somebody can hear me. Good, 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 good. And Bruce has arrived. Hello, folks. I can hear you. Good, that's excellent. And Craig is here. And Danny Banks has arrived. Hello, Danny Banks. I'm glad you're here. That's one of my channel members. I'm glad you guys can hear me, and we're up to a few people here. I do want to cover one more quick piece of business very quickly. If you have a topic you would like me to cover today, please let me know in the chat what you want me to talk about today, because this is your time. I'm happy to talk about whatever you want to talk about. But also, I just wanted to put a little bug out there in your ear. I'm not asking you to buy anything. You know, you guys that know me know I don't hard sell anything, but I am getting very close to a goal level in the Cerule company. Not a big goal, but a little goal, which is a big goal for me. So if you have been thinking about maybe trying Cerule, I would invite you to go to my website. There's a link in the description. Check out the science behind the Cerule products. And if you decide you might want to try them, that would be really neat between now and the end of the month to help push me over that first little goal. It would help me out quite a bit. But don't feel obligated to do that. Just if you're watching this video and you've been considering maybe trying the Cerule products, between now and the 1st of June is a really good time to give them a try. That's all I'm going to say about that. Like I said, that's as hard of a sale as I'm ever going to give you guys about anything. And less junk, more health has arrived. Thank you. Bob, talk about walking. How much credit goes to walking for your success? That's actually a very interesting question, Craig. I don't have a great answer for that, but I'm going to give it a try here. I believe that 90% of my success is related to the carnivore diet. Because as I have said many, many times, I don't believe that you have to exercise to get healthy. The carnivore diet will do that mostly for you. But I do also believe that once your body can move, you should move, because the more you move, the better off you will be. And the more physically fit you get, the more movement you'll be able to do. So I think my walking has contributed quite a bit, but it's really hard to say that, well, the carnivore diet has been this percentage of it, and the walking has been this percentage of it, and the other exercises I do have been this percentage. And I think that's very, very hard to say, and it's going to be different for everybody out there. But I do believe the walking that I do every day has contributed to my success. Like I said, how much of it, I don't know. But there you have it, folks. And while we're on the subject of it, I did put this isn't really a piece of business, just letting you know what I'm doing, because there was no video that I put out yesterday. Because I toyed with the idea of putting out a video on the days I'm also appearing live, to have 2 videos come out. But the video that I put out on the same day I was doing my live stream with Dave on Wednesday just absolutely fizzled. So it's still, I'm still going to have to trust in Nick Nimmin, who says if you put out more than, now this doesn't include shorts, because shorts are in their own little world, but if you put out more than one piece of long form content in a day, it can confuse the YouTube algorithm. And because it doesn't know which one you want pushed out, it ends up pushing none of them out. So that's why whenever you see that I have a live stream scheduled with somebody, you're probably not going to see a long form video that day. Because like I said, I put one out on Wednesday at my normal time, and it started to get views, and then I went live with Dave, and the views on the video I just put out an hour and a half before just tanked. So I'm not going to do that anymore, which is why yesterday with my live stream with Aaliyah, I did not put out a long form video, and there was no long form video today because it's Friday. It's my live stream. So that's why there was no video yesterday. Rick has made a comment. Let's see what he has to say. Cycling is, yes, any intentional movement, even, it doesn't necessarily have to be intentional movement. Even just getting up and walking to the refrigerator to get another glass of water, or going to the sink to get another glass of water, or walking out to the mailbox because it's time to get your mail, all of that is movement. Does that count as intentional movement? I don't know. I'm not going to say that it's definitely exercise or it's definitely not exercise, but everything we do over the course of the day all kind of continue to build on what we're able to do. Hi, Bob. Stormy here in Indiana. Oh, yeah, we had a really good storm here last night. I ended up getting quite lucky, though, because went out to go to breakfast this morning. I was going to go meet some friends, and this morning there was basically a big branch of a tree down across my driveway, because we got a really big storm blew through here last night. But rather than having to deal with it myself, there was a crew of people out in the neighborhood looking for downed branches. And while I was out there trying to decide what I was going to do with it, they pulled up and said, "Hey, we can take care of that for you." And I just wrote them a small check, and in a matter of moments, it was gone. I didn't have to worry about cutting it up. I didn't have to worry about how I was going to get rid of everything. It was just gone, which is nice. But yeah, there was a really nasty storm, and it's amazing how much the storm cells can differ from one section of the city to another. because my rain gauge here said that we had about a half an inch of rain last night. But Dave up at the miniature golf course, which is just, 6.5, 7 miles that way, he got a little over an inch of rain up there. So he got significantly more rain there than I did here. I'm here, was blocked. I guess somehow I got unsubscribed. Well, that's weird, but I'm glad you're here. And yeah, it's for purposes of my live streams, because it cuts down on the amount of trolls, because you guys have all seen it. Trolls like to jump into live streams and just start typing all sorts of random crap in the comments to try to disrupt the live stream. Well, I have it set that only subscribers can comment, and you have to have been a subscriber for 10 minutes to be able to comment during my live stream. And that it has not completely eliminated the trolls, but we very rarely see one now, because I have started setting, I just automatically click the buttons and make that happen, where you have to be a subscriber for at least 10 minutes to comment on one of my live streams. So that's why you probably couldn't comment, but thanks for being here, Paul. We really appreciate it. And John is here listening while I get my walk in. Well, enjoy your walk, John. I'm glad you're out there enjoying the day. I had kind of I won't say it was a rough day yesterday, but with the storms I knew were moving in last night, I went outside and I got my grass all cut again. I know a lot of you don't like it that I use chemicals on my lawn, but we have to face the realities that I live in a city with regulations. So I got out some Ortho Home Guard, which is supposed to prevent bugs from getting into your house, and went all the way around the outside of the house with the Ortho Home Guard. And then I know Roundup is evil, but I have some rocks on the side of my house that's supposed to just be a little rock garden around the air conditioning unit and all that kind of stuff. And after a certain amount of time, the weeds start to grow up through. So I went out with some Roundup and sprayed down all the rocky areas so that I don't have to deal with the weeds in there. I know this is a carnivore channel. I talk about natural, healthy things all the time. And here I am using a little bit of Roundup. But some things just work, and it's not like I'm spraying Roundup and growing vegetables or anything. I am just controlling the weeds in the rocky areas of the property. Let's see here. It's as hot and dry as a desert. I don't get it, but okay. Long dry season here, increase hurricane risk. Excellent. Yeah, it's coming up. I thought hurricane season starts, what is it, like late June or late July or early August, and runs down through October. I don't know. I spent one year in New Orleans. We had that great big nasty Ida that blew through, and one hurricane was plenty for me. So I have no desire to move back to hurricane country. What are your plans for the holiday weekend? Well, I work for a miniature golf course part-time. My plans for today are doing this live stream. My plans for tomorrow, I'm going to go work at the miniature golf course. My plans for Sunday is I'm going to go work at the miniature golf course. And Monday, the actual holiday, I'm going to go work at the miniature golf course, because if the weather cooperates, Memorial Day weekend is like a kickoff to the summer, and it can be one of our, if the weather cooperates, one of our top 5 busiest weekends of the year. So that's what I'm doing. I know, super exciting, right? But it's a little bit of extra money. I don't get paid a whole lot to work there, but I like it. I get to get outside and talk to people, and it helps Dave out because he's got somebody that knows what they're doing there to help out during the busy times. So that's what I'm planning on doing this weekend, and then we'll see. I've got an interview I'm conducting with somebody I think they're in Canada on Tuesday. And then on Thursday, I'm going to, I have another interview. I think this person is in the UK. And those will both end up on my channel sometime in the next couple of weeks. I'd like to get some more interviews in just to get some more people's stories out there. But for some reason, I've been having a lot of trouble getting people to agree to come on camera and talk. So if anybody watching right now wants to come on camera and talk, just send me an email at semiretiredbob@yahoo.com and we'll get something worked out. Karsten is here. Hello, Karsten. I'm glad you're here. For those of you that are new or haven't heard this before, I do want to explain. You'll see most of the time that I'm not actually looking straight into the camera and talking to you. I'm looking over here and talking to you. My laptop is right in front of me, and the camera I use is poking out above the laptop. It's very hard for me to read comments on my tiny little laptop. The reason I'm looking over here is I have a great big beautiful screen that is big, and I can see all the comments, I can read the comments. So that's why I am most of the time looking this way when I'm reading comments and talking to you. Let's see, June the 1st. Okay. Got a new C-peptide result today. Fortunately, it is holding steady, low but steady. Yeah, and C-peptide lets me know that you are at least creating some insulin. And if you don't need to use as much insulin because you are on a 0 to low carb diet, so your body's not making it, doesn't need as much insulin, therefore that will drive your C-peptide a little lower, as far as I understand. Remember, I'm not a doctor, but I don't think there's anything to worry about as long as you're not having any diabetic type symptoms. That's the thing to keep an eye on, but I wouldn't worry about it as long as your C-peptide result is holding steady. Then I don't think there's a whole lot to worry about. If you're concerned about it, you might go to Dr. Barry's private group and ask him about that. I know I haven't talked about this in quite some time, but it is something to consider. If you're going to spend money on some type of carnivore, ketovore support group, $5 a month gets you access to Dr. Barry's private group. Now, he's very busy and it may take him a while to answer you, but for $5 a month, you can ask questions of both him and Nisha and all of his really knowledgeable proper human diet coaches that are in the chat pretty much daily. So $5 a month is a really cheap way to get access to a lot of really good information. Rick say we never get hurricane before August. Okay. Just a date assigned to it. Yep. It's still scrolling there along the bottom of the screen. semiretiredbob@yahoo.com. And John has arrived. Hello, everyone. I'm here and ready to start my 3-day weekend. Welcome back, John. Now, I told you what my plans were, which is basically just working because I work part-time at a miniature golf course in the summer. But let me know if you have any big plans for the 3-day weekend, the holiday weekend. Did anybody go out and buy themselves a really big steak to throw on the grill this weekend just because? Let me know about it. It's right there scrolling along the bottom of the screen. Granny Antlers told you to put your camera on the large monitor. No, it doesn't work that way. Because I don't use, it's not a webcam. I use an actual Sony camera. It's a full-size camera. And I have one of those desks that has a hutch over the top of it, basically a bookshelf over the top of it, and there is not room above my big monitor for the camera to poke through properly, which is why the camera is here in behind my laptop rather than over here. Because hopefully you can tell that I'm not actually using a webcam, because webcams, even the newest ones, have very poor quality compared to a high-end Sony camera, which is what I have. Craig, thanks for bringing up the Ali song last night. Thanks to you, it's now going through my head and has been all day since I watched the YouTube video. Good job, Craig. I think I just agreed with your command about Bob placing his camera. Yeah, and that's why it's never moved. That's why my camera is here, because the laptop is low enough that there's room for the camera and tripod behind the laptop. There's no way to get it set anywhere else in the space I have. I will probably redesign it when I get my shipping container spotted down in Texas. I'm going to build an actual studio, and my thought is to have my laptop slightly off to one side and my big screen slightly off the other, with my camera dead ahead, and that'll fix that problem. But there's just no real way to fix it in the space I'm in right now. Well, no. Yeah, but I'm not going to do that. I mean, it's full of books and all sorts of stuff. That would require an awful lot of work. And to be honest, I'm not that concerned about not looking straight into the camera. When I actually design my studio down in Texas, I will take all of that into consideration. But it's not worth worrying about at this point, because this is almost June. So I've got June, July, August, and September. About 4 more months in Omaha at most. And then I'll be going to Texas for a while. So there's no point. I've put up with it this long. There's no point in trying to redesign something for the last 4 months I'm in Omaha. Oh, okay. You're watching on the phone. The scroll is very small. I totally understand. I always forget that most people watch YouTube on their phone. The only time I turn on a YouTube video on my phone is when I'm drinking my morning beverage, because you guys know, because I'm not drinking coffee this month. When I go upstairs, I have it's not a huge glass, but it's about a 20-ounce glass that I fill up with water. And then I dump a packet of the Cerule Collagen Active into it. And I dump a packet of Booyah Berry flavored electrolytes from Salty, which is a division of Keto Chow. I mix that all up, and that's what I have for my morning drink. And to be honest, it perks me up pretty much the way coffee does. Although I'm still very much looking forward to the rest of this month being done, and then I can have some coffee and let you guys know how that went. As of right now, I still don't really notice any difference. I will probably have a cup of coffee the last day of this month, just so that I can tell you if having coffee after being off of it for 2 months made me jittery or anything, or caused it so I couldn't sleep. That will all be part of the 60-day experiment. I will be spending Memorial Day at my niece's lake house. I plan on showing up with a bunch of ribeye steaks that are on sale at Publix for $8.99 a pound this week. Sounds good. So I'm assuming there's going to be a grill, and all of the steaks are going to be cooked outside on the grill. That would be awesome. Send me the address. I'll be right over. Smoking wings with hot sauce and butter. That sounds good too. That sounds really good. Probably not. I am planning on building my shipping container home so that it's basically a cave. The primary purpose is to get it enclosed with lots of insulation from the outside so I don't lose any space on the inside. But I'm not really planning on any windows. I'm planning on one door to get in and out of, but I'm not planning on any windows or anything like that. I've got a couple of ideas for vents to circulate the air, but the primary purpose is to not let any outside light in so that it is easier to heat and cool. Because not that I need a whole lot of heat there in the wintertime. The main purpose is to keep electric bills or the cost of buying more solar down to a manageable level so that I can keep it air conditioned during the hot summer months for when I eventually move down there full time. And the best way to accomplish that is, I think my plans will work out very well. I've talked about this before. After it's in place, I'm of course going to paint the whole thing with that reflective RV paint. Then I'm going to put like regular foam board insulation on the outside and then leave a gap and then fill earth bags to have 18 to 20 inches of thermal mass all the way around it to help insulate it from the outside. I'll let the earth bags suck up the heat from the outside so that hopefully it doesn't get into the shipping container. And then after I get a roof built over it, I'm going to take the space between the roof of the shipping container and the roof that I build to collect rainwater and other things. I'm going to stuff that space full of straw bales for additional insulation, and then to keep bugs and things from getting into the straw bales, I'm going to spray it down with a mud slip so that it's basically just sitting there, and that will be more thermal mass to keep more of the heat or cool inside. So hopefully I don't have to buy, $10,000 worth of solar to have enough power to run a little mini split air conditioner. The only holes in the shipping container other than the door, I'm planning on basically a couple of van style roof vents that I can, after I get them installed, I can run ducting out past the insulation so that air can move in and out. And then when I go to install a mini split air conditioning, that will make for one more hole in the wall. But again, I'm going to attempt to vent it all to the outside so that it vents outside of the earth bags that I plan on piling up around the place. And that's my basic overall plan. I think it will work out quite well. I won't have any natural light inside the shipping container. But since I plan on being outside almost every day, I don't see that as a problem because I'll be out every day doing stuff outside. And then using artificial light inside, again, it would be nice to have some natural light inside, putting a window or two in. But if there's a window, that's a break in the insulation that I'm planning. And that will be a weak point for heating and cooling. So those are my basic plans. Pronghorn. That is a very funny video. Donnie Iris does a good job of faking his guitar playing. Okay. Yep. Phone is all I got, no computer. And I understand that. I keep forgetting about that most people don't actually have a computer anymore. They watch on their phone or their tablet or something like that. I realize that not everybody still owns an actual computer. Sometimes I just forget that. I hadn't thought about that song probably since it was popular back in the day. Now I'll never forget it. So you're not adding a big swimming pool? Well, eventually I hope that, I want to dig a pond. And if I build the pond correctly, I'll be able to swim in the pond. But we'll see how that goes. I would like to have a big pond so that ducks have a place to go and other furry, tasty critters show up to drink from the pond that will end up in my freezer and then on my grill. But we'll see how that goes. Because of the type of soil, because it's basically, once you get down past what little bit of topsoil there is, it's basically caliche, which is a really hard packed clay. So it'll be very, very hard to dig the pond. But once the pond is dug, it shouldn't take a whole lot of work to make it sealed up so that it does not leak, because hard packed clay will be fairly water resistant as it is. And then we'll see. And then, at some point in the future, if I get, a couple of big roofs built for rainwater collection and a couple of big tanks, maybe I'll see about putting a swimming pool in rather than just the pond. But that's not in the immediate plans. My family will have 2 freezers of ice cream. I will try to sneak in a few sardines to make them more carnivore. Excellent. How far is this land from where you live now? It's about 1,100 miles. I'm in Omaha, Nebraska. This chunk of land is about 130 miles due east out in the desert from El Paso, Texas, which puts it about 16 miles northeast out of Van Horn, Texas. So it's quite a ways. It'll be a full day drive to get down there, maybe even a day and a part of one. We'll see how it goes. But yes, it's quite a ways, and that's almost, this land is a few hundred miles west of me, but it's primarily south of where I am now. That ice cream minus the sardines sounds good. Yeah, you're going to have some, are you going to have some of that ice cream, Craig? And Rick is still saying quack over there on the side. I have not actually gotten to watch the video that he put out. I'm on his mailing list, so I saw the previews of that video. But yes, planting cactus is probably in my future because cactus drops fairly good roots, and that particular type of cactus doesn't take a lot of effort to plant, but because it's a plant, it will actually help hold water in the ground. Now, goats and sheep and things like that will not eat the cactus, but once I get that type of thing set up so that the ground is holding more water, I can then begin to grow grass and fertilize it and hopefully get a lot of really good grass going so that sheep and goats and things like that have something to eat, making it much easier to keep them on my property. Your pond will be a deer magnet. Maybe you'll find their shed antlers. Yes, that's one of the things I'm counting on. Not necessarily for the antlers, but shall we say some other things that can happen when deer wander onto your property and drink out of your pond. Let me see what else we've got here in the comments. Of course, we got John screaming about sardines. My yard is coral rock with no soil until I make my own. Yeah, I understand. If this would have been the 40s, Bob would have built a casino in Nevada. No. I did tell you, I think I've told you, I was actually considering, it came down to, because YouTube has made Arizona so popular in the last few years, the land prices for bare land in Arizona have gone through the roof. So in the places that I could afford, which basically came down to Texas and Nevada. It came down to the chunk of land I bought versus a couple of pieces of land I was looking at in Nevada. And the real deciding factor was that in Nevada, they have very specific rainwater collection laws where that it's based on how many people live on the property, which tells you how much of the rainwater you collect you're allowed to keep. And anything over whatever that limit is, you actually have to contact the state, and they send a tanker truck out to collect the water that you collected. Whereas in Texas, if the rain falls on my land and I figure out a way to catch it, it's my water. And that was really the deciding factor. This chunk of land where I'm at in Texas and out in the middle of nowhere of the desert in Culberson County, it's mine. I can do whatever I want. There are no regulations or building codes. You know, I could just step outside my trailer and use the restroom on the land if I wanted to. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to build an Arizona-style double composting toilet system to make compost, to enrich the land. But I don't have to do that if I don't want to. But I'm going to, because that's the safer, more correct thing to do for long-term habitation on the land. Will you poach the deer that come to drink on your pond? It's not actually considered poaching. It's called protecting your land, and in some cases it's considered pest control. There are pest control permits if something comes on your land and it is eating your hard-won plant life. You can get a pest control permit to eliminate those pests, regardless of what the season is. Ferment your cactus and start Beefy Bob's tequila. Yeah, we'll see. No, I don't drink. Why I haven't drunk in decades, because that's one of the few things that my doctors from way back when I was diagnosed with gout said, and I haven't actually tried it because I have no desire to try it to see if they were right or wrong. But my civilian doctor all those years ago said, you have gout. You can either walk or you can drink. You can't do both. So I've never been a drinker. I mean, I'm 61 years old. The last time I had a drink that I remember was on my 30th birthday party. And it's not like I got blind-faced drunk. I just had some drinks on my 30th birthday and couldn't walk for 2 or 3 days afterwards. So that's probably the last alcohol I've ever had. Hello. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce that. We'll just call you Nate for the last 4 letters of that name. But welcome. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you're having a great day too. And we're up to 21 in the chat. So thanks you guys for coming today. Oh, Bob the Moonshiner. No, I don't think so. That's right. If you kill it and cook it, did it actually exist? See? Yep. Does the area have a deer population? I believe so. There's out in the desert, there's some mule deer, and there's, I forget, Granny Antlers can tell us the name of it, but there's a kind of wild pig that inhabits that area of the desert as well. So I've heard they're very tasty. I'm looking forward to trying those. We'll see how it goes. I mean, it's not I'm not counting on any of that to be my main source of food. I do have a big freezer that will be powered off of my solar system, and I'm going to leave here with that freezer in my trailer so that I won't have to buy groceries for probably the first 6 weeks or so I'm down there, so that I only have to go to town 2 or 3 times while I'm down there this first time, as far as getting groceries will concern. And just ground beef, maybe some steaks or some roasts, depending on what kind of deals I can find down there. And I'm planning on having basically the same thing I'm having now: beef, eggs, and butter. Because my little refrigerator is big enough to hold about 5 dozen eggs, and then still have room to squeeze 3 to 4 pounds of butter in there. And then the freezer, I can stock it completely up to the top with meat. And that's what I'm planning. If I happen to, if something happens to wander through my sights and happens to catch a stray pest control shot, I may try some of that stuff, but I'm not counting on any of that to be my primary source of food at this point. Bob, will you have a pump in your pond? Your sardines will need oxygen. Well, number one, I'm not going to have sardines in there. Once I get the pond fully set up, I will put some kind of an irrigation pump circulating it to keep the water from getting stagnant. And at some point, I may try once I'm down there and can take care of things, not just going down for the winter and then coming back to Omaha for the summer. Once I'm down there permanently, I may try stocking some kind of fish in it. We'll see how that goes, but I will have some kind of a little circulation pump put into it eventually, so that the water doesn't get stagnant, so that deer and things like that actually wander by and want to drink it. I have nothing else, around the area. I'm planning on planting some grass around it and some shrubs, and hopefully I'll hang some bird feeders around it as well to attract some flying life to the area that will eat whatever I put in the bird feeders, poo on the ground, and make the area even better. We'll just one step at a time. The first step is to get down there and see what I'm working with. Granny, I love Sammy Hagar. Don't get me started. Can we walk to his cantina from Bob's Ranch? And that sounds like a challenge, Rick. And of course, he's saying he's never been drunk. I won't say I've never been drunk, but it's so long ago that I can't remember it. Yeah, okay, we'll just skip right along here. I don't think we can walk to his cantina from Bob's place, though. I think you'd be hard-pressed to walk anywhere from my place, because the closest major road is 6.5 miles. This, as you can see here, that's the county road, and there's actually an exit off of I-10 to that county road, but I am 6.5 miles in on that county road, north of I-10, and it's all desert, just like you see there. So I don't think you want to go trekking out across the desert hoping to find stuff, because I know those mountains there look fairly close, but they're not that close. That's a big, wide open stretch of desert between me and those mountains. Yes, to start with, I will have to haul in drinking water. I'm still debating, depending on what I can find when I get down there. Because my own personal needs, I'm only going to need one roughly 300-gallon IBC tote to have basically an entire year's worth of drinking water. But depending on the prices I can find on them, I'm planning on setting up my rain harvesting roof, which is also going to be the roof over top of my shipping container. And I'd like to have 2 or 3 IBC totes set up on that so that I can collect about 1,000 gallons of water. Or depending on what kind of a deal I can find, I would actually eventually like to have a 2,500 to 3,000 gallon poly tank. And I can collect rainwater off of that once everything's built. But in the meantime, if I have IBC totes, I'll have to load them up the back of my truck and haul them into town, because nobody's going to haul just a couple 300 gallons worth of water out into the desert. But if I have, a 2,500 to 3,000 gallon poly tank, I'll be able to hire somebody with a tanker truck to bring me a load of water, and they're not super expensive. And since I'm only 6.5 miles off of I-10, it shouldn't be that expensive to get the big poly tank filled up. And a 2,500 to 3,000 gallon poly tank will last a couple of years, depending on how much stuff I try to water out of that tank. So again, we'll just have to see how it goes. But those are my two plans for water. But the simple answer to your question is yes, I will have to haul in drinking water. Okay, you guys are still talking about booze. That's funny. NJ is here. Hello, NJ. Glad you made it. Sammy is okay, but he's no David Lee Roth. I can kind of agree with that. Know the things I do not want to do. Okay. And thanks for the tip. Is tequila carnivore, and how many varieties does the Red Rocker make? I can't imagine that any kind of alcohol is carnivore, because it's all made from some kind of grain, isn't it? I mean, I know gin is made out of juniper berries. Juniper is a tree, which means it's a plant. Some things are better left to the ducks. I agree. I smoke. I'm going to do a pork butt this weekend. Good for you. Sammy is better than Roth. Ever thought he was. Yeah, we'll see. I don't really have an opinion on them. I actually like them both. They're very different, but I kind of like them both. Okay, you guys are still talking about boobs that I don't really know anything about. And now we're talking about Van Halen. I mean, if you guys want to talk about a band, let's talk about Rush. Rush is a much better band. Since we can't drive 55, maybe we can speed to the Cabo Wabo from Buff Bob's Animal Preserve. I don't think that's going to be the name of it. I haven't really decided. But of course, hey, maybe that's one of the first things we'll do when I get down there after I show everybody the land in person. Maybe we'll have a little naming video where everybody suggests the name, and then we all kind of vote on it and decide what we want the name of my land to be. That sounds like a really good idea, though. Sounds like a plan, Craig. Why smoke when you can make a heart attack? Yeah, we all know how you feel about that. Primarily because that's the way you make meats. I like smoked meats, but I also like the heart attack style of just taking stuff and drowning it in a great big pot full of either boiling lard or boiling tallow and letting the stuff cook that way. They're both really good. They both have their advantages. I don't see why this is even a discussion. Why not just have both? Hey, there you go. Take a pork butt, smoke it for 8 hours, and then dunk it in a tank of boiling lard. I bet that would be really, really good. Yeah, now see, Herb Albert and the Tijuana Brass. You can't see them down here, but I have an old style stereo here with, the big rack with a turntable and an equalizer and a couple of tape decks and all that kind of stuff. Down underneath, I have like 8 records still from back in the day when vinyl was a thing. And one of them is a Herb Alpert and the Tijuana brass record. That tells you what kind of stuff I like. And yes, Neil Peart for the win. There's actually an A in his last name. But yes. If you people have never seen Rush's Neil Peart's drum solo from Live in Frankfurt, it's about a 16 or 17-minute drum solo that is well worth watching. I remember that too, Rick. My mom used to play that vinyl. I don't know. Bob's Outback. Yeah, Outback sort of feels like an Australian thing, though, doesn't it? To everybody else, I don't know if I want to go that route or not, but we'll see. Probably plan that for October's videos. We'll probably keep a running tally of what people are saying to name the land, and we'll probably go that way. I bet so, Craig. And let's see here. I need to get my records out for a video. Yeah, that would be cool. That would be really cool, Rick. Yes, indeed. He was a beast. There are several, just like guitar players and drum players and bass players, you're never going to get everybody to agree on who was the best ever. But I don't think there is much argument that Neil Peart was in pretty much everybody's top 5 of all time. Everybody's going to have their own favorite musician, their own favorite artist. But if you're compiling a top 5, I would say he's probably in pretty much everybody's top 5, just like whether you like Van Halen or don't like Van Halen, if you listen to Eddie Van Halen's guitar solos, you have to put him in the top 5 guitar players of all time, at least in my opinion. Tequila by the Champs. Rick, spin some discs for us. Let's see here. I'm packaging and freezing ground beef while I'm watching. Yep, I understand. I do that. I just put another load in my freezer. Oh, it's been 4 or 5 days ago now, so I'm probably going to have to do it again in a week. But I buy the big 10-pound chubs, cut them up, and put them into freezer bags. And then I flatten them out like a great big hamburger that ends up being about yay big around and a half an inch thick or so. Not because I like to cook great big hamburgers, although I do sometimes do it that way. But if you put a big chunk of beef in the freezer, it takes forever to thaw out. But if you put it in a freezer bag and then take a rolling pin and kind of roll it out so that it fills the entire freezer bag, those thaw out much, much faster, making them easier to work with. Just a little quick tip there for those of you that buy ground beef in bulk. Roll them out with a rolling pin once they're in the bag. Of course, so you don't break the bag, you have to leave the seal unzipped I usually leave about an inch of it unzipped so the air has a place to escape. And then I seal it up, and it's almost like I vacuum sealed it, but not quite. Rick could be like Kid Rock with his vinyl. 40th anniversary of Rush's best album, Can Bob Name It? Well, I believe that this is the 40th anniversary of 2112, but I won't swear to it. It might be the next one. It might be Exit Stage Left. Or it could go back to Caress of Steel. I thought I was the only one rolling beef. Yeah, no, that's the best way to do it. Looks like we've got about 4.5 minutes left on our 1 hour timer today. So if you have any last minute questions or comments, feel free to get them in. Again, if you didn't get a question in or you think of something you wanted to ask me or talk about, you'll find my email address has been scrolling along the bottom of the screen all this time. I am now going to click over and thank the channel members briefly for being channel members today. I don't have time to guess again. Sorry. Live duck fight right here. So your ducks are going at it again because they seemed kind of peaceful in yesterday's video. So the troublemaker's back causing trouble today for you, Rick. So, let's see here, 40 years, that would be the album that came out in roughly 84. So 84 would be later than that. Perhaps it's Moving Pictures that came out in 84. I don't remember what came out when. Fighting with the black duck again. Yep. Oh, Grace Under Pressure. Okay. If the fighting continues, cooking will be next. And see, I hear that a lot from people, both from you with your ducks and people that have chickens. If they have an aggressive chicken, sometimes it's an aggressive rooster, sometimes it's an aggressive hen, but that seems to happen a lot in the bird communities, those that keep birds like that, whether it be ducks or chicken or geese or turkeys or whatever. If you end up with an aggressive one, oddly enough, those are the ones that end up on the kitchen table. And that helps keep the peace amongst everybody. Yeah, you keep thinking that to yourself, Craig. I have a roughly 50-year-old rush sign hanging on my wall. How about you? Yep. But anyway, I'm glad you all came out today. I really appreciate you being here. It means a lot to me. And I like this time where we can just kind of hang around and just sit around and talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. That's what these live streams are for. So I hope you all had fun today. I know I certainly did. Don't forget, get out there, be 1% better today, tomorrow, and every day. Have a great day, folks. I'll see you in the next one.